I'm sorry, you won't be able to stay on-prem forever. You just won't. Whether your company has migrated its assets wholly, partly, or hesitantly into the cloud, security practitioners will need a rudimentary education in how the cloud works. Today's guest, CompTIA's Chief Technology Evangelist, James Stanger, gives you the hows and whys of the Cloud Plus certification, a soon-to-be cornerstone cert on today's CyberWork Hack. Welcome to a new episode of CyberWork Hacks. The purpose of this spin-off of our popular CyberWork podcast is to take a single fundamental question and give you a quick, clear, and actionable solution to that problem. Today's guest is James Stanger, the Chief Technology Evangelist at CompTIA. James recently recorded an episode of the CyberWork podcast with me about the new CompTIA Data Plus certification. And if you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend that you do. We had a blast. So for this hack, we're going to talk about another semi-recent CompTIA cert, the Cloud Plus certification, and why security professionals really need to consider adding that to the certification toolbox. So thanks for joining me today, James.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks.
So most of our listeners know the foundational CompTIA certifications for people in the cybersecurity field. There's the A+, the Network Plus, Security Plus. What is the Cloud Plus? What are the parameters of the cert, and what is it built to test its cert aspirants?
The great thing about Cloud Plus is it basically does the foundational parameters for the cloud. Recently, I was talking to a gentleman named Robert Venier. He is the person over cloud and data center for a company called AstraZeneca. You know AstraZeneca? They helped come up with various things, including one of the vaccines, right?
Right.
For COVID. And I asked him about, what it meant to be working in the cloud. And he said something interesting. He said, James, too often a lot of people misuse the idea of, computing power changes or doubles every, year or 18 months or something like that. And they misuse that in saying, technology changes every 18 months. And I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, when it comes to the cloud, when he goes up to using whatever resource, whether it be Google Cloud or AWS or Azure, he says he finds radical changes every 3 weeks. Wow. Now think about that for a second. I mean, so what does Cloud Plus give you? It gives you a foundation so that you can keep your feet in spite of that kind of radical change that happens so often. Because if you go and stampede into learning about feature sets of whatever cloud there, I really like AWS and Azure's great and all that. Yep. But if you're focusing on feature sets and really not understanding the essentials of storage and things, for example, then you're going to be kind of lost. And Cloud Plus gives you the ability to understand whether it be an S3 bucket or its equivalent, that's for storage and things, or its equivalent in Azure, you can actually start understanding the foundations of what it means to scope and source and provision and maintain and troubleshoot and pay for, right? Yeah. All of these different elements. If you don't have that foundation, then whatever vendor-specific stuff you might want to stampede into ain't going to make a whole lot of sense in 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really good insight. And again, we talk to so many people who feel, they're looking at whatever their career goal is, and it's like they're looking at a 70-mile-per-hour highway, and they're trying to sort of like, get on the on ramp from 0 miles per hour here, and it's hard to sort of understand how you can get into you nailed it perfectly there. Every 18 weeks or whatever, like radical changes are happening. So if you have like the roots of all of this, so this is a fairly like vendor agnostic certification.
Very much so. Very much so. And yet, even though it's vendor agnostic, it's not something that just says, over and over again, the cloud is good or the cloud is hard or whatever. It actually goes in and really talks about a lot of teaches you so many of the elements that you really need to know when it comes to, working with the cloud. And so, for example, cloud and security. If you take Cloud Plus, are you going to be a cloud security expert? But you'll be able to talk with one. And you'll be able to eventually become one because it gives you that foundation that you need. Too many people, for example, they don't know what identity access management is. They'll go into the IAM manager, whatever, in AWS or in Azure or Google Cloud. What does that even mean in the cloud? And even understanding things like virtual machines that you can launch. You can launch a Linux system and then start installing stuff on it and all that.
Yep.
Well, why would you do that? Which at times you should. Or why wouldn't you choose a serverless application to go? Right? In other words, because the cloud abstracts stuff, or it gets rid of the middle player. And by middle player, in other words, if you and I 20 years ago, hey, go make a web server, it's like, well, you got to find a room, you got to find a way to cool it, because servers are great space heaters, right?
Yeah.
They generate tons of heat. Right?
Sure.
You got to get the server and all this hardware and all this internet, right?
Yeah.
Well, with the cloud, in an afternoon or less, right, we can spin up much that same thing, because it kind of gets rid of the hardware. That becomes somebody else's problem, right? And so the idea with the cloud becomes, and knowing the foundations of this, well, when is it time to actually, well, no, we actually do want to not be in the cloud. We might want to be in a data center, or we might want to even have on-prem, believe it or not. You have to make those smart decisions, right? We live in a cloud first, what I call a cloud first hybrid world, which is a fancy way of saying, sure, we might go to the cloud first, but there are compelling reasons why you use a data center, which is not the cloud. Or there are compelling reasons why you still might stick something in a server room. When I say here, the server room somewhere in the building, right?
Yes.
So you have to make those smart decisions. And Cloud Plus allows you to understand when to make those smart decisions.
Now, can we talk about the Cloud Plus cert, and if there are any kind of input points specifically to like Sec Plus and the security track? Are there aspects of IT and security certs mentioned above that come into play when preparing for Cloud Plus? It's, because you said basically like it'll get you towards cloud security, but it's not a cloud security thing. But where are, just like A plus, on ramps you towards networking and networking.
There's a significant portion of Cloud Plus, good 20%, as it were, that does focus specifically on security. So if you've gone the A plus, Network Plus, and Cloud Plus route, you've already picked up some cloud already, because A plus it's very cloud aware. So is Network, so is Security Plus, and so Cloud Plus is also security aware. And that there's, I won't even call it overlap, but there's just a commingling of concepts there. And what Cloud Plus will do is it will teach you things that go beyond data center or beyond install, and talk about what it means to do security in terms of the cloud. For example, usually when you're working in the cloud, you can work through a web browser, but you can also work through a command line or a terminal. And by that, and that means that if you're going to remote in using something, it's a tool called Secure Shell, SSH. It's a command line little thing that, if you've ever opened up a DOS command prompt or a PowerShell or whatever, or a Linux terminal, you can use a tool called SSH. You type SSH and then the address of where you want to go. And you'll have to learn about public key and private key authentication to even get into the cloud, because the cloud doesn't want you to use passwords anymore. Right.
Yep.
So you'll learn about things like two-factor authentication. You'll learn about using Secure Shell to enable public key authentication. It's things like that if you get the proper foundation, doesn't matter if you're SSHing or whatever or terminaling into IBM's cloud, Google's cloud, Oracle's, AWS, doesn't matter, because you can work with them with equal aplomb, as I say, or with equal dexterity.
Love it. How pervasive do you think will cloud be with the cloud security in the years to come? Is this something that security professionals should consider sort of an essential part of their skill set, or is this still going to be okay? All right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's more data. I should say there's more computing power that finds its way into that exists in data centers than even the cloud right now. That's going to be that way for a long time. But in no way does that mean that you should discount the cloud, for heaven's sake. Again, it's the first choice that you're going to look at, probably, right? So it's absolutely something that if you want to go into security, you better understand what it means to administer the cloud securely, and also to understand what goes wrong when it comes to the cloud. And generally, and I'm generalizing, but I'll go out on a limb. You're probably in the cloud going to be running a whole lot of applications. I was talking recently, it was last summer, not so recent, to a managed service provider. And he works in Belgium. He owns a company. And he said, James, we moved to the cloud a long time ago. And yes, we still use data centers. But he said, we moved to the cloud. But no matter where you are, it's all about the application. I said, well, what do you mean all about the applications? And he said, well, that's where we make our money as an MSP is making applications for whatever company. He tends to work with a lot of finance, insurance, manufacturers, believe it or not, right? But other MSPs might work with grocery stores or might work with insurance companies or something. They all pick a sector they work with. Right. They work in. And he said it's with the applications because that particular store or that insurance company, that manufacturer uses applications to run its business, CRM, customer relationship management software, or software that runs a treadmill, or I'll call it a treadmill, a conveyor belt, right? Things like that. Yeah. So hackers are going to be in the applications too. And if those applications are installed or in a data center or in the cloud, how do they behave there? They behave about the same no matter where you stick them. But if you put something in the cloud, that you just lift and shift from a data center into the cloud, you're going to run into problems generally. They function fine, but you may not be supporting it and giving it the security that it needs. And it's all about really enabling web application filtering. It's all about enabling web application firewalls and things.
Okay. So Infosec is a primary partner of CompTIA and is very happy and proud to be offering boot camp and course training for Data Plus, or Data Plus, Cloud Plus. We were just talking about Data Plus. Cloud Plus. So can you talk about some of the training materials you've seen and what types of exercises and quizzes students can look forward to during their Cloud Plus studies?
When it comes to the cloud, you can probably go up and find some free resources. Any of those cloud, they allow you to get up there and go up there and create free stuff. But the tiers are rather limited, and if you make a mistake, you'll end up with a bill at the end of the month that you gotta pay. Okay, because they don't let you sign up for free unless there's a Visa card or some sort of card, credit card involved, right? Yeah, MasterCard, whatever. Labs. So to me, it's three areas that are really important. One, you've got to learn the material, the objectives, right? And then there's great learning there. There's videos and things that CertMaster learn. But when it comes to labs, we have CertMaster Labs, for example. And then we also have CertMaster Practice, which kind of simulates the exam environment. So to me, it's all about the labs because I just learn that way. But CertMaster Learn is so great because it contains videos, it contains step-by-step instructions, labs that reinforce it. And then as you go in, you get ready to take the exam to prove that you know what you know. That's where the practice comes in. To me, so there's kind of, I put 4 in there. I meant to put 3. It's right? The kind of CertMaster Learn, CertMaster Labs, CertMaster Practice can help.
So finally, do you have any study or strategy tips for people studying for the Cloud Plus?
Get a mentor. Whether it be an instructor, with you, but get a mentor and network with people. 2, if you learn about a concept, no matter what it is, I'm sure it's an acronym. It's got to be an acronym, right? Isn't that what we do?
Yes. Work in the cloud to do your identity access. Second to Campbell's in alphabet soup.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And so make that alphabet soup real and do some sort of lab in it. And you'll find that with CertMaster Labs, for example, it does a great job of giving you those labs that start out step by step and also can be much more challenging. And then implement that as physically as humanly possible. If you heard about software as a service, well, what's an example of that? Well, go up and grab a software as a service application and play with it. Slack, right? Or Office 365, the trial version. And then compare that to something that's, platform as a service. Like, the application is not there for me to just play with. I have to actually call it up and configure it and all that. And yet that brings me more flexibility than a lot of software as a service. So you can actually play with these terms. To me, it's all about play. As a kid, I still get myself in trouble a lot playing with things, right? But over the years with the cloud, it's been nice to be able to play with stuff and then break things horribly and then just restart it. and so it's not punitive play anymore. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think for people who might have a fear of doing something in front of the teacher or in front of the class, like you have these spaces where you can break stuff as hard as you want, and then you can look at the debris and go, oh boy, and then you sweep it under the desk and start over or what have you. But I think there's a lot of value in taking sort of big swings when you're learning the material. Yeah. All right. So
I like how you put that. It's great.
Thank you. So one last question here. If our listeners want to check out the Cloud Plus and its requirements in more detail, where should they look online, James?
CompTIA.org. Go check it out. Probably the best way to do it, the quickest way, is to type in CompTIA space Cloud Plus, and you can go check that out. And there's great resources there. Also, Infosec, you guys can provide great resources. There are great resources that, if you contact them, can guide you to Cloud Plus as well.
Thank you very much, James Stanger. Thank you once again for walking us through this essential cert. Appreciate it.
It's great to talk to you, Chris. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man.
And thank you all who for watching this episode. If this video helped you, please share it with colleagues, with forums, or on your social media account. And definitely subscribe to our podcast feed and YouTube page. Just type in cyberwork into any of them and you're on your way. There's plenty more to come. And if you have any topics that you want us to cover, drop them in the comments. And until then, we will see you next time. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, if you're worried about choosing the right cybersecurity career, click here to see the 12 most in-demand cybersecurity roles. I asked experts working in the field how to get hired and how to do the work of these security roles so you can choose your study with confidence. I'll see you there.